Check one, two, check one, two. What is up, guys? It's your boy Kagi back at it again with a new founder interview. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have Luke, founder of Pixels, and we also have Jihoz, founder of Ronin. I think most of you know Jihoz here in this channel, but if you don't know him, he founded Ronin, the chain that powers Axie Infinity, and it powers many other games. And Pixels is a game that just came in to the Ronin network. We're going to learn all about it. We're going to learn about Jihoz a little bit, and we're also going to learn a little bit about Luke. So with that being said, Luke, welcome. Jihoz, welcome. All right?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to start with you right away, real quick, man. How does it feel to be in the Ronin network? Ronin network has been, killing it for a couple of years now with Axie Infinity. Now with some new games, how does it feel to come into this community that is super powered, right?
I mean, it feels amazing. It feels unlike anything else that we felt in Web3 so far. The Ronin Axie community is extremely unique in what they've built. And yeah, it feels really awesome to be a part of it. I've watched it from the sidelines for a really long time. And I've seen what they've built when it comes to community, when it comes to the support over the ecosystem, the shared belief. I remember reading about Digital Nation so long ago, and it really does feel like that. To be a part of it now feels, absolutely amazing. And to be welcomed to be welcomed like I was, and to be welcomed just overall was really, really great.
Absolutely. We'll get into it as to why you got into it and all of that good stuff. Now, Jihoz, for you, this is kind of the first game that comes into Ronin that is already kind of like, it has a massive community, very engaged community. It has a lot of similarities to Axie because I can tell from the day I joined Pixels, I always look up to Axie as the standard for whether a community is, good or bad, right? So how do you feel about bringing this game and, kind of merging that together with Axie and all the other games that you guys are bringing in, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been following, right? Like I've been kind of following for probably about a year now, and I'd seen some community members speaking very highly of the game, binary assets and Big Crit Brit, for example, have been playing and saying, "Hey, like this is something pretty interesting. You should definitely take a look." And then, how do I do research? Well, I'll go on the Discord. I'll see if there are actually real people that are there to converse with. I'll go in with an alt so people don't just think it's me or know that it's me, right? And ask questions and see, is the community willing to help me? Is the community trying to onboard me and get me interested? Are there tools? Are there tutorials, right? Like one of the cool things, right, about Pixels is that there are people who have built tools, there are spreadsheets, YouTube tutorials, right? That's all like, as I mentioned earlier, that's like all stuff that's like the tip of the iceberg. When you see stuff like that, you can assume that there's a lot more beneath the surface. And then when I saw Luke speaking when I was in Japan, and he was talking about iterating, experimenting, building in public, building alongside the community is like, okay, like, and also like, not being arrogant enough to think, hey, we're just going to make it a fun, right? Like we're just going to make a fun game and then everything else will flow naturally. Like, no, like that's an assumption, or that's actually a big risk, right? Like, a general who is too committed to one plan, might get slaughtered. Right. And we don't know what the playbook is. Right. So we have to be flexible. And I saw that in him. And I was like, hey, like this is something that we should look into. We might actually really need this. And then, something where there are very few Web3 games with any sort of traction. Like I obsess over trying to figure out how many Web3 gamers are there. It's kind of like requires like some proprietary data scraping and analysis, right? And specialized data sets, and kind of, so my estimation is that there are around 250 to 350,000 blockchain gamers. And I think a lot of them, that aren't in Axie, a lot of them are in the Pixels community. So I was like, okay, right. It just seemed like an awesome infinity stone to add to the gauntlet. And
I did see a tweet about that. That was pretty slick though. Yo, no, but I'm very, very happy about Pixels being on Ronin for sure. When I joined 5 months ago, same thing, same treatment. The community came to the live stream. They showed me around. They gifted me some stuff, and then this time around, same thing. They just showed me around, gifted me a bunch of stuff. And usually when people come to my stream, they're like, they want to take from me, right? Like, oh, what, Kagi, in a good way. Like, Kagi, can you give me the link for this? Can you give me this? Can you give me that? Can you give me? It's always asking. And in this case, it was just like, yo, Kagi's here, bro. You get some berries, get some things for your lands, all of this stuff. So it was really, really nice to see that kind of love in this community. Now, let's jump into Luke real quick, because I really want to know your background. You don't have to go too deep into your background, but I like to know where you come from, what powers Pixels as a person, right? Like, why Pixels, right? But from your background, why, you know?
Yeah, totally. So I think to start, I started coding when I was 12 years old, making video games actually, which is kind of funny. And I also started mining Bitcoin when I was like 14 years old in my parents' basement, like very, very early. Like it was $8 or something like that when I started mining it. And yeah, I have like a very technical background. I went to school for a combination of computer science and economics. I got a double degree. And for a while, I thought I was going to work in fintech. I ended up trying out fintech. I just really didn't like that environment in terms of work-life balance and what it really was, even though it's funny because I have no work-life balance now, but I'm doing something I like much more.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, I ended up working as a software engineer for a little bit. I left that job eventually. And then I started doing some freelance work, basically helping companies set up cloud infrastructure as code, basically helping like early stage startups scale their infrastructure. And as I was doing that, I started working on a bunch of other things too. The intention was kind of like, leave the 9 to 5, do some freelance work and try to set up like some other side businesses and hustles. And then one of the things I was working on ended up just getting a lot more traction, and actually is what became Pixels. But Pixels wasn't a Web3 game from the very start. We actually started doing virtual events and spaces, and we pivoted into gaming after we found out that these virtual spaces are really like this metaverse product that we had built wasn't really getting any traction that we wanted to. It's interesting because we used to sell the tech that Pixels is built on to enterprise companies. Like we sold to Apple, we sold to Uber, we sold to Twitter. But the issue is when we build these virtual spaces, we never got consistent use cases out of them. We had like, 4-figure, 5-figure sales with them. But then, yeah, we never knew when they would use these spaces again after they used them for one time. Or like best case scenario is we saw them use them once a week for about an hour. So like basically how we ended up on Pixels was we started experimenting, adding some game features. There was a night and day difference between the product that we had before. And that's why I'm hyper focused on retention and all of that kind of stuff now. Like I just am so worried that people won't be using our product every single day. But yeah, when we started introducing game features, there was somebody that spent all night playing the game the first day, and it wasn't even that good of a game. And that just gave me the personal conviction to move into that space. And at the same time, we had an NFT collection using the product as a meetup spot once a week for an hour. And they kept begging me to put their NFTs in the game. I was kind of put off from blockchain for a little bit because my econ degree actually kind of made me anti-blockchain. All my professors hated Bitcoin. But then, yeah, this NFT collection kept bugging me, and eventually they offered us like a decent amount of money to put their NFTs in the game. And I was like, wait, why are you doing this? Why are you giving us money to put your NFTs in the game? And I started digging into the use case more, and we saw all these NFT collections out there that had very strong communities at the time and nothing to do with their NFTs. So that's when we kind of honed in on this concept of interoperability and really made that a core tenet of Pixels and what it became today.
Okay, perfect. Now, I don't want to. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. Let us know, what is Pixels for the user that just came in. Like, what is this? Like, what's Pixels? A brief description. And is it inspired by something like Stardew Valley or Habbo Hotel? Because there's a lot of similarities from back then. You could look back in history and kind of project the future, kind of with the, because we've seen stuff like this. So tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I would say it's like the perfect description. Pixels is a social browser game that's really plays like it's a mix of Habbo Hotel or Club Penguin and Stardew Valley. Mostly we went this direction because Stardew Valley is my favorite game by far. I didn't think I was a gamer because I'm not into MOBAs, I'm not into FPSs or first-person shooters. I'm just into games that like really chill me out and relax me. This kind of game. So that's the advantage of being a founder. I get to make a game that I like to play, and it's this kind of thing.
Absolutely. Now, Jihoz, let me ask you: is this one of the reasons you guys brought in Pixels to Ronin? right? To bring this connection between many communities. Obviously, Pixels has integrations with more than 70 communities, and it just makes a lot of sense, right? It should be one of the reasons why, super powered the Ronin network with many other communities at the same time in one, killed many birds with one stone, basically.
Well, why did they do this, right? Well, why have they done it with 70 times? They've done it because they did it once, and they saw data that showed that it was effective for expanding their community, and they kept doing it. So did I say, hey, like I want Pixels because they have 70 projects integrated? No, but it's actually indicative of what I see as like a core principle with the team is like experimenting and doubling down on what works, right? So to be honest, I didn't understand like the true extent to all these integrations.
Okay.
So I'm learning more about Pixels alongside the community here too, right? I knew enough. I knew enough when I looked at some of the data, and after speaking to Luke, that it's like, hey, this is a no-brainer, and then I'm finding more reasons to get bullish on it and excited about it, as we learn more. To be honest, right? So and one of the things, right, is like, yeah, it's actually very interesting that I've always seen interoperability as more of like a user acquisition strategy rather than like some grand ideal to aspire to. And so it's like, what is the practical benefit to it? Is that you can integrate NFTs and kind of absorb like an amoeba these other communities, right? So yeah.
Absolutely. Now, let's go back to Ronin real quick, Jihoz. I wanted to ask you this, and this was just kind of a question that came up in my mind. Does it make sense for games like this, as big as this one, right, that have to have a node, a running node, to kind of commit a running node within the running network?
I think that's it's definitely something that is interesting, and I think people would be interested in seeing, right? Like I think like CYBERKONGZ, for example, kind of has an official one. It kind of has an unofficial one through Coco, right?
Right.
Maybe Coco will change. I'm not sure, like, but maybe he'll like change it to be more of like a CYBERKONGZ or a Genkai node or something like that moving forward. So yeah, I think that's a novel concept. I think that's actually how Loom Network worked too, right? We actually ran validators on Loom Network, right?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
So Loom Network had the playbook. Actually, they actually had the playbook and the vision. They just lacked conviction.
Absolutely. Yeah, because that gives the network strength. When you say Pixels or X Game comes in, they also have a node. It's like, yo, these people, not that you guys are planning to ever leave or anything like that, but it just gives you that conviction. Like, these people are here to stay even more, right? Because they have juice in the game. So anyways, just a question.
Makes sense. Yeah. It definitely makes sense. Just like you want the users to own the underlying infrastructure token, the RON token, right? The Ronin Gamer. What is one of the characteristics of the Ronin Gamer is that they are an owner of the RON token, and because of that, they're more interested in them than they might otherwise be in the success of the protocol. That concept can also be applied to the actual teams, and there should be some way, for the teams to have exposure and incentive alignment with the RON token, and that's something that that we definitely try to achieve.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a nice question that I had in my mind. I wanted to get it out of the way. Now, Luke, one of the things about this farming games is that if you're not a farming game simulator type of gamer, it might seem a little bit boring. It might seem like it, right? If you don't dig into it and you don't fall in love with it. Now, one of the things that makes it even more interesting is, one, the MMO side, and the other side is events and quests and stuff like that. You guys recently just came up with a quest, and I'm gonna show it right here on the screen. And I want to know what this quest is all about, and are we gonna see more? Oh my God! Look at the amount of people here! Holy crap! Are we gonna see more of this? Because this makes it even more interesting to be part of the game, right? Oh my God! Look at all these people gambling. I'm gonna gamble too. Wait.
Is that a coda? Yo, is this the first utility for codas?
Yeah, Animoca lended us 2 of their mega codas to use in this event.
Those are actually pretty fucking cool codas. I actually like low key. I've always thought that, hey, like maybe I should get a coda. Like, I don't know, like whatever. Maybe I should get one. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like, nobody knows what they even do. Now at least I know I can maybe use it in Pixels.
Yeah. Yeah, we use that one as an NPC. Those are like licensed. But yeah, what this is and I don't think people understand completely what's going on here is what we've done is we've integrated all 100,000 other deeds into this game. So we've basically made a separate game loop. We're running a 28-day promotion around this game loop here. It's separate from the core Pixels game loop. We have $10,000 over of prizes for this game loop. You can win like a Mutant Ape Yacht Club if you want to play the game. And yeah, we have like a mini game where you get energy from it. It's like this whole separate thing that we've done. And the reason why we're doing this is one, we want to run experiments with new types of gameplay that are kind of separate from the core game loop. We want to experiment with deeper interoperability. So we've done a lot of avatar integrations as interoperability, but we've also been interested in interoperability when it comes to other assets like virtual land, when it comes to lore, when it comes to narrative. And is that a good user acquisition strategy for us? Or is this creating champions in that community that do UA for us? So, integrating Kodas, for example, that's kind of a big deal to the like Yuga fans. And, we want to see, okay, is that attracting some of that user base when it comes to sharing on socials, things like that. And the other thing that we want to test with this too is behind Pixels and all the tech in the back end behind it is we build everything without code that you see in the game. We've built a really, really good set of tools and infrastructure behind all of this, where these are the kinds of experiences that we actually could have users create in the next year or so. And we're really interested in opening up this tooling more and more to our users. We started experimenting with that just a few months ago when we let people introduce like their own in-game items into the core Pixels game loop. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff we want to basically test out too, like building out more of these side games so that, this might be something that our users could actually make in the long run.
Absolutely. Now, with that being said, has this increased the daily active users for your game? Because I personally, when I started playing, I was like, okay, farming. I like farming, but the thing about farming is that how do I engage? How do I engage with live streaming? How do I engage with creating content? And a lot of developers miss this point. It's like, yeah, you have a nice game, you have an amazing game, but you're not building for the content creator and you're not building for the viewer that is watching the content creator. Because sometimes you as a content creator have to create the content. You're the one that has to push it to these levels that almost are natural because the game is not giving you feedback. And this is definitely giving feedback, right? When I go gamble and I'm on stream, I'm like, yo, I'm a gamble. Come on, give me. Like, I'm creating content with the game, right? So has this increased the DAU? And
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, we've seen a noticeable DAU uptick since we released it. And then what we've also been really caring about is the retention uptick too. So people who interact with this game, they have significantly higher retention. Like I think day one has been like 80% retention versus our core game has like 40% day one retention. And then, yeah, the reason I would say that you've hit a key issue with Pixels too, where the core game loop with Pixels, not streamable. It's not very shareable. And that's the kind of stuff that we're also very aware of and like trying to improve as well.
Yeah, and that was going to lead to my next question because you're very vocal on Twitter and you're vocal as much as Jihoz used to be back in the day. Now he's a little bit more, more strategic about being vocal. But I almost feel like us three are very vocal. And, anyways, the point is that you're very vocal. You also self-analyze. And right here we have our retention is oak, but has a ton of room to improve. We have been lacking basic systems, et cetera, et cetera. So what are some of the things other than that, other than what you just mentioned, that needs improvement in your opinion, right? And they're more immediate to fix, right?
Yeah, so there's like two things, maybe three things that we've been debating. It's like how much do we polish up the core loop and really try to tighten up because there's a lot that we can do when it comes to progression, when it comes to onboarding. For example, the initial onboarding experience has a lot of room to improve. People are generally confused when they come into the game, and we haven't really done the optimization that we need to make that just a much better user experience. But then what we've really been thinking about too is like the long tail retention of the game, which makes us think, okay, there's progression systems in the game that we can probably make a bit more tight. We can make them a bit better, and then we can kind of optimize some of that kind of stuff. So basically just creating more mid-game and end-game content, more things to do and work towards. So that means like farm automation, if you played Stardew Valley, all of that. And then the other thing that we've been thinking about is secondary game loops. And that's something that we've actually been putting a ton of investment into. And that's one thing that we'll be doing with Ronin quite soon. We have this new game mechanic built around pets that's coming out. We'll be doing an on-chain mint with Ronin quite soon to actually get those out on chain. We have all the work done for that already too. And that'll kind of be our play with like, okay, does adding this secondary game loop give you more of a reason of why you're playing this game, why you're progressing through this initial core loop.
Absolutely, absolutely. Bro, I just want to say that I love all these NFTs integration. It's actually insane. And I have some questions around the NFT integrations, but we'll get to it in a little bit. Now, your game has a lot of moving elements when it comes to an economy. That's a natural thing when you have a farming game, right? You got resources, you got crafting, you got all this stuff. Now, you do have a degree in this. Now, do you work with anybody else for this economy? Because there's a lot of tweaking that has to be done for this economy to, like, for example, I want to go buy an energy yesterday, but it doesn't make sense. How do you make that make sense, right? Like, spend my berry to get 50 energy, right? And a lot of people tell me, yo, don't buy that. It doesn't make sense, right? So now you have this item that doesn't make sense. How do you make it make sense?
Yeah, so there's like a couple parts to it. So one, like, the field of tokenomics, I think, is really silly. When you're thinking about tokenomics, like, really what you need to think about is core product. Where is the game good? Is there like actual demand for items in the game because people want to progress through the game? Then there's the element of game balance too. So that's just like, honestly, normally spreadsheets, you just do math. And we have somebody that's helping with game balance. And then when it comes to tokenomics, there's also like this other consideration that you need to think about when it comes to like emissions and all of that when you actually like, do a listing and like want to have that in the game as well. And, we get help from, previous investors like Animoca when it comes to that side of things. But yeah, it's funny because tokenomics can be so complicated, but like the more you understand them, like the more you realize it's actually quite simple, where it's build a good game that people want to play and have some kind of demand for the token through gameplay, which just basically means like give a reason for people to want the token through progression and like other things they can earn into it.
Now, with that being said, let me jump into Jihoz. Jihoz, you guys have massive experience in tokenomics, right? Like, you guys have seen your token go up, down, people sell it, trade it, all kinds of stuff in all kinds of exchanges, in all kinds of countries. Is there any tools available for Pixels set up where like you guys are helping? Is there like a back and forth here, or you guys kind of like, if they ask, we got you, right, type of vibe?
Yeah, we definitely have personnel dedicated to giving that type of tokenomics advice. But yeah, I will also say that for us to act like we got everything figured out and they don't know what they're doing and they got to do it our way, right? That's not going to work. And the playbook is still emerging, right? I think like the biggest factor is like speculative demand trumps all other sorts of demand, right? And then it's like, you could actually create like a very predictable, smooth system that doesn't take into that kind of like reduces or gets rid of all speculative demand through different mechanisms. But then it's like, you might be removing the soul of the token and even capping the upside of yourselves and the community for some really crazy magic to happen, like we saw in 2021, right? Like a lot of the things that cause a lot of problems for us, in 2021 are also a lot of things that created the magic, right? It's like you kind of have to, sometimes play with fire to be able to spread your wings, and then it's like it also creates some complications, right? And there is no, if there was a perfect model, right? It's like this would be a $1 trillion industry already, right? Like, so we're learning. We definitely have some advice and things that we can share. But I think we're going to be also learning together, right? So.
All right.
Yeah, I mean that's
go ahead.
I want to pick your brain on, like how much you lean into that side of things and like the benefits that you get from having people who are speculating. There's a whole host of things there. I think it's really interesting.
I mean, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. This is one of the main reasons we're here, right? We're speculating. We're collectors. Collectors are speculators. That's what they are, right? Jihoz knows this as a collector. I know this as a collector as well. Like when you buy a piece of art, you buy a Van Gogh or whatever, or I don't know, whatever you want. Like you're speculating. You're saying like this is gonna be worth more in the future, and it's gonna hold my value. And NFTs, crypto, economies, open economies is the same thing, and I don't think it should be removed, and it should not be like a bad thing, right? Eventually, people will understand. Let them understand over time. So, I'm all for it. I'm all for it, man. Now, let me ask you a specific question because I went into a friend to make some friends. I was like, okay, let me make some friends here real quick, right? And there's this thing called friends, seams, something seam.
Mhm.
What is this? Because this is like, I would rather not do this, right? If you want me to be honest, I don't know what this is. I'd rather do my things in Ronin, right? Maybe connected to the Mavis hub or something. I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know. I don't know if this is the best way to do it or in game. Like I don't want to create an account here. I want to make friends, but I don't want to create an account here. I
Yeah,
just want to
totally.
get
So
some
this is
perspective here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the experiences that we wanted to run with Web3 Social. And what was great was like Seems another startup where they got to do the work on our behalf of testing out like is a profile system going to be something that is interesting? Like is a social graph something that's interesting? Like our users actually want to use and interact with. And then yeah, we kind of basically just got to integrate them without having to do that work. And then yeah, it's funny because we do a lot of sweat marketing for other teams where we're really willing to try stuff out. This is a very nice example of a team doing that for us,
Fair.
kind of taking advantage of like the distribution that we have, and we got to run the experience we want to. We see some interesting stuff there, and yeah, it's been mutually beneficial just to see like okay, like there is something here in the Web3 social side of things. Like this might be somewhere where we want to invest more.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna sign into this, and then later on there's gonna be something different. Like, do I really just want to put my email again? Like, and no offense, it was just kind of how I felt. I was like, nah, bro, I don't want to do this, man. I don't want. Like, I already logged in. I don't want to re-log in somewhere else. So maybe a pain point there that maybe some people haven't told you, but that's something for me that was really like it bothered me. So I might as well tell you. It is what it is. All right, man. Look, let's talk about the berry token and the pixel token. You got the berry token and the pixel. Give me a breakdown. What is the berry token and the pixel token and what they're gonna do. Also, go into real quick how can we acquire both tokens and how can we prepare for the pixels to acquire it? Because we want to speculate, man.
Yes, Berry token's live in game right now, and we treat it like a soft currency in the game. The currency is intended to be very inflationary. It's not intended to hold a lot of value. Our community knows that. It's really just meant to be a game that you earn, or a currency that you're in the game within like the first 10 seconds of the game. Like it gives you ownership in the game and the ecosystem right away, and that's super important for us. We've noticed like the quicker that we get somebody to feel like they have something in the Pixels ecosystem, the more likely they're willing to stay for a bit longer. So yeah, in gaming and especially like free to play and mobile gaming, the concept of soft currency, hard currency is pretty normal. I like to use the example of Clash of Clans a lot, where they have coins and they have gold and they have gems. Gold you can earn in the game just by playing it normally. And you never have to buy a gem if you don't want. But then the gems are the hard currency in the game. And the hard currency you typically, that's the kind of currency that you buy with a credit card. That's the kind of currency that you pay for with US dollars. And that's used for premium in-game items or, speeding up build times, things that don't affect the core loop, but maybe make the experience a bit better. And that's how we've been viewing how we want to introduce the Pixel token as well. And what's interesting about that is we're introducing a hard currency as an ERC20. We're doing the traditional launch with it. It's not out yet, but we're going to be launching it within the next like 3 to 6 months is the ideal target date. We have all the pieces together that are ready for it. It's just basically, doing the timing right and making sure we have as best of a launch as possible. But yeah, how we view it is basically, the hard currency in our game. So, there's certain things we've been able to analyze as we've had a live game for the last year on where our users actually like to spend the soft currency berry. And what's great is that soft currency is priced. We get a feeling of the price, demand, and where that currency is actually used. And now we kind of know, okay, these are the things our users like to pay for. These are the things our users like to do. And we're kind of going to insert the hard currency a bit retroactive into those certain game elements that we know actually have demand and want to be used in. Or the other things too, like for example, bookmarks in this game, just like saving land in different places. Those are very desired. That's a really easy thing for us to sell for a premium currency. Name changes, like a bit of like extra cosmetics are nice to haves and add-ons. And then the other big thing that we'll be doing is doing like big mints in that native hard currency as well too. So we'll do like a play to mint for initial part of pets, but then pets eventually will be minted in the Pixel token and a bunch of other things like that we have planned.
Damn, nice, very nice, very nice. What about the VIP club? That's another thing that you would spend pixels, right?
Yeah, so VIP transparently, like that's how we intend to capture value out of the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
VIP is really akin to a battle pass system, and it's going to get really interesting when we have the Pixel token out, and that's what I'm more excited for about when it comes out. So, one thing about tokens and actually capturing value, it's not always super obvious in Web3 how a company is supposed to capture value. Like what we could do is we could, launch a token and then sell off treasury if we need to pay team and capture US dollars. My preference is to never have to sell off treasury, just have that build up and have that be there. I don't love the incentive of basically having to sell your own token on the market in order to make payroll, in order to build out cash flows. What's really interesting though is the battle pass system actually works potentially really well in Web3, where we can actually increase earnings through a battle pass that's sold for Ronin or US dollars of the Pixel token, basically add and play that earn elements if you pay for this battle pass. And it's a way for us to capture US dollars or basically tax the ecosystem in US dollars without having to sell our own token that way. So yeah, basically expect in the long run the VIP memberships to do things like increase token earnings in the game. But right now it also just offers fun in-game benefits too. So it's like a bit of both. There's the earn aspect to it in the long run, but right now it also just makes your experience a bit better. You get access to exclusive areas, you get a name color change, you get more bookmarks, you get more storage in your inventory, and a bunch of other things like that too.
Yeah. No, it's a really nice way to make money without having to, by actually providing some value inside game, just a little bit more value. I like it. That's the right way to go. Now, with the battle pass, I do have this game here. You probably heard of it, but I like to go to so many games and I have so many ideas because I go into so many games. And one of the things that you can implement in the battle pass is something like this, right? So in this game, this is a farming game. You probably heard of it. But basically, if you go harvest 10 blueberries, then you can go ahead and mint this shirt, which is an NFT, right? So you could give this blueprint to the people that have the battle pass. So they still have to sync time and they still have to sync pixels or berries. But the only way to get the blueprint to mint is by having the battle pass. So the battle pass is just a bunch of blueprints of things that you can do. So just an idea there that I had. I was just like, look, this needs to be implemented in Pixels. Go do stuff exactly to get mint. Yeah.
Yes, we have a dashboard like that that's ready. We just haven't been using it as much. So that's something we'll probably be integrating a bit more. But yeah, no, you're totally on the nose there.
Yeah, and the cool thing about being a blueprint instead of being an item that you just get is that not everybody, even if they paid for the battle pass, not everybody's going to go do it. So that creates scarcity by lack of people putting time, right? So I kind of like that. Instead of just a battle pass you pay for and it's super easy to go through and that's it, right? And then everybody gets the mint super easy. So I think by having those elements where you have to sink some tokens, some time into it to mint that blueprint, it's a good way to go about it. All right, let's keep going, man. Let's keep going. I know you're late. It's late for you. All right, so we're almost done, bro. We're almost done. We got this, okay? All right, so how long does it take for a free-to-play player to figure out Web3 in Pixels? That's really interesting to me. I was like, okay, I play free. How long does it take for them to realize? Because I see a lot of free-to-play players. Do they even know? Do they ask themselves, like, yo, what is this? I want that. I want the skin. How do I get it, right?
Yeah, I think that's typically the journey. So this is a lot of people's only Web3 project they interact with, which is, I think, a good signal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because this is actually what's intimidating to them about Ronin. They're like, oh man, I have to set up a wallet. It's kind of scaring some of these users. And we're going to guide them through it. We're going to handhold. They don't have to worry about anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's typically the journey where they'll come into the game and they're like, oh, wait, how do I get VIP? Or oh, what's this land about? Or how do I get an NFT like that? They'll ask in the community, and that's kind of how they onboard into Web3.
Okay.
Our audience is very casual.
Yeah, I can see that. It's exciting to see this free-to-play players not having this. Not in a bad way. Just kind of like, yo, you're going to get an NFT. I fucking promise you. I fucking promise you, man. Now, with that being said, Jihoz, when CYBERKONGZ in here and when some Axies? I know people have been asking for that, so let's, shoot your shot there. Is it happening? Is it not happening? Is it hard to happen? Tell me.
I don't want to set expectations on like timeline that we're gonna aggressively pursue it, to be honest. But yeah, it sounds like something that could and should happen, right?
Sounds like like what a founder would say these days, you know. All right, man. No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. All right, let's talk about UGC. You guys are leading in this, 100%. Like,
You know, one thing that I was thinking is that actually the Axie mixer from Arctic's game, Across Lunasia, that mixer actually fits better with the art style here, right? Because Across Lunasia is the pixel.
Mhm.
So actually, like, you know, just to get more into the weeds and a less of a cop out answer, you know, so some of the complications might be, right, like, does the art we would need like a pixel art style version of the Axie versus the current one, right? And we have two, right? We have the Axie 3D Axie mixer, which is being tested. You see that mainly in the cooking game, which you like, Haggy, and then also obviously the 2D mixer, which is you know, what we use in Origins and basically a lot of the other games, right? But then there are others that are a little bit more but then, right, some of the Axie Builder program games have built their own Axie mixers, right? And some of them, those are more pixelated. And the one that comes to mind to me is you know, but potentially the one that Arctic has for Across Lunasia, right? Like, that might be the best Axie pixel mixer that exists.
Yeah, I like it.
And then CYBERKONGZ, you know, that's also right. It's like, how do we take the Genkai and then you know, technically represent it in a pixelated version in a cool way, right?
Yeah. No, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, guys. I'm telling you, as the CEO, you guys already know, it's gonna happen. Don't worry, I got you. It's we're gonna make it happen. Now let's talk about UGC, bro, Luke, because bro, you have been like you were experimenting. I interviewed you a few months ago and for Juice News, and you were like, "Yo, we're gonna launch this, yada yada," but it's doing pretty good. I seen some lands being filled up. How does the game, number one, generate money out of this? Because at the end of the day, this is a business, guys. Okay, this is a business. It's very important. So, how does the game generate money? And how has what have you seen in the back end? Have you seen increase in people engaging with the game, wanting to be part of it because of the UGC? Tell me a little bit more about all of that.
Yeah, there's a few pieces of emergent behavior that we didn't quite expect, but we're super interested in pursuing more. So one thing that was really interesting when we opened up UGC, allowing people to basically upload their own in-game items, put them into the game, sell them on the marketplace, was that we saw a lot of UGC form around other communities. So yeah, like basically all these NFT collections have been making their own UGC, or like YGG's making banners, like the guilds are making banners, things like that. And that's very, very interesting to us, where it's like, okay, this is something that we probably should pursue a bit more for that reason. So for me, UGC, like, we were honestly really struggling to get decorations in the game. Like, we have to hire artists, we have to like come up with concept designs. Like, we were not releasing content at the rate that we had wanted to. And we had all these users here who were kind of like sending these mock images all the time, or like doing their own fan art, pixel art, where it's like, let's just give them a system to do this for us and have them have some of the benefit too. So how our system works right now is you can mint it and then you can actually sell it on the marketplace. So it costs like 100,000 berry to mint the UGC item, and then you get 100 of them, and then you can sell it on the marketplace or trade it to your friends, things like that. But for us, it's more of just like this game mechanic, or this like meta game mechanic, where you know, we can create systems for people to do user acquisition for us. Like, at the end of the day, that's it. Like, are we creating a home for other communities where they can live and create something that feels like their own, and can they spend more time in Pixels? And if we have more people spending more time in Pixels, like, at the end of the day, that's good business for us, and that's the key priority there.
Win-win for everybody. Yeah, the user wins.
Exactly.
If they create a good, yeah, everybody wins here. Literally every single body wins, right? It's incredible. Now, the integrations, I wanted to ask you, you have 70 plus, right? Right now, are you charging these integrations, or people can just kind of go and request? How does that work?
Yeah, we normally do it at cost for collections, or if there's like a really interesting one, we'll cover it sometimes. And yeah, or if they like want to own the art, then they'll pay for the cost basically. So yeah, we have it down to a science. We can get like basically any NFT collection in like a week or two at this point. We've just done so many of them. It's
That's
become
insane.
kind of
How do you guys actually like solve that thing that I was talking about, right? Is like, how do you represent the thing as a pic, in the kind of the form that.
yeah, it's an artistic choice, right? So yeah, I mean, sometimes the artists have very weird representations, and then we send it back to the drawing board. But really, like we read the metadata, we reverse engineer all the traits, we draw sprites for each trait, basically, and then we combine them together. So it's not like we have to do 10,000 unique pieces of art every time. It's really just by trait. And then
Yeah. So it's, you have a mixer, right? You basically create a mixer based on the traits, right? So then you just have to draw. You just have to have like a body, right? Like you just have to have a body, and then you just have to represent all of the different traits in your own pixelated way, right? And then you just mash it together.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, hey, I'm learning. We're learning. We're learning. Nice.
I haven't heard that term mixer before. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's what we call it. We call it the Axie mixer. That was actually one of our like, we had the animated sprites, the animated Axie mixer using Spine. That was when I came in, always, just looking for some unique way to sell the project. When I came in, that's what I was, my pitch was, right? It's like, do you guys want to own the first animated moving NFT, living, breathing NFT, something like that, right? Because the Axies, before you could use them, well, what was the unique thing was that they were moving, they're kind of like bobbing up and down, right? Like they looked more alive than, what at the time, what was the standard was like CryptoKitties, right? Which were like just very static. And, and people didn't really know about CryptoPunks back then. Obviously, those are very static. So.
All right, cool. All right, we're reaching the end. We got a few more questions. That's it, I promise. Will you ever release a PFP? I know there's pets coming, but I think this game is missing a unique character, and the only unique characters that we have are kind of like the free ones, and I feel like it needs that it needs to be represented as an NFT, right? So is that something you're thinking about?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I've been trying to think about like what the best approach is to that, because we do want to maintain that free to play element. I think we have thought about lazy minting of your avatars sometimes. Like if you want to upgrade it and like make it an NFT, that might be something that's interesting. But yeah, I curious some community thoughts on that as well too. We have like community built NFTs at this point where there's like this NFT called Farmhands. And like our most active users just made their own NFT collection. And we also integrated it because like, yeah, sure, why not? And that's kind of on brand for what we do. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Gotta figure out what that looks like. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure we would support it, right? Like, it's just one more way to create revenue too. We want the game to succeed, bro. Come on. I mean, it's gonna succeed anyway, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, you're not wrong.
Yeah, so I think the community would really appreciate that. Okay, what about wearables? Add-ons and stuff like that, little hats, little thingies. I'm a big fan of that, and I don't think many games have done a lot of that here in Web3. Buying wearables and stuff, just because they don't have games, right? That's the truth. But you have a game, right? So is that something?
Yeah, I think that's like, it's funny because that was initially what we really thought was like going to be the Pixel token utility, and what we found is like relying on cosmetics too much for all this stuff, especially for token utility and token burn, it won't get you what you need. Like it's nice to have, it's an add-on, but cosmetics are not enough to build like an actual sustainable ecosystem out of. So our focus has been really on like, integration with game loops when it comes to token utility, but there's always add-ons like this. Like every game basically needs to build multiple sources of revenue, not just one. And even with token utility, like that's kind of how we do it too. My team is really pushing for basically like selling, if you go into the free to play avatars, we have like a bunch of different heads, outfits, things like that. And that's an easy thing for us to add. So yeah, we'll probably add some of that to the free to play avatars, and then figuring out what we want to mint, things like that. It's hard. The interoperability with stuff, wearables, it's impossible.
Yeah.
What's the main like burn, or where's the main source of token demand so far for you guys? If you're saying that cosmetics is not enough, right? So.
Yeah, it's basically all the stuff that's integrated in the game loop. So it's, if you see those apiaries right there, they're like those beehive looking things. That's a very rare item. This farm, this person's very rich.
Yeah,
like
that's chicken pet. That's chicken pet. Chicken pet.
Yeah.
I was asking yesterday, yo, Is Chicken Pet like a Coco here? I think he is, bro. He's like a little Coco. He said he was going to school, so probably, maybe he's just. Who knows? Who cares? He's Chicken Pet, bro. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. um, but yeah, it's basically like the pursuit of these like very hard to get rare items is that's like the core thing. So not everybody can get these. These take a long time to get. It takes like a lot of resources
What
to
does the
collect.
apiary do?
It gives you access to like one exclusive resource. So part of like the appeal for these players is like they want to have the best farm, and that's like a meta game across all the users. So people who get these really rare items get more people to come to their farm, and that's like one just a very satisfying thing to have like actual users come to your farm every single day to like get the resources that they need. And then two, we also have this system like this interesting feedback loop where if people are using your farm, you get a share of the resources that they get. So it creates this like incentive to have people come to your farm.
Yeah, like right now I'm using his beehives or whatever to put my bees there to generate some honey, and he gets a percentage of that. So in reality, there's some like passive rewards, right? Because I get berries by selling this, and then it might have it might have a market out there, the berries, a couple cents. So there is some type of revenue share type of vibe here as well. So it's kind of cool if you actually build
Yeah,
a community around it.
the other thing we've seen like burn in is like quests that are not optimal, and like skills and leveling too. Like people really want to get their numbers up. People have this like completionist mindset in NFT gaming. We've noticed as well too. So we have quests that don't really give you earnings in the same way that you would be interacting with the game in other ways. It's like non-optimal play, but we still see like a really strong desire to complete them just to check off that list. Basically, having that one in the top right really bugs some people.
Damn, bro, that's crazy. Now, yeah, this is incredible. It really is. It really is. At the beginning, I didn't get the. I actually went through three phases. This is my last phase of in a good way of Pixels. So the phase one was like I played. I was like, do I really want to sink time into this? Then I hit you up. I really want to try it, right? I got a land to try it. Boom. Okay, and I was like, okay, I like it, but not yet. And then now I'm just like, okay, I'm staying. I even bought a land, bro. I was like, fuck this. I'm in. I'm in. I'm not leaving. I like this. I like this a lot, man. I like where you guys are taking this. All right, bro. Look, we're at the end of the interview. If you have anything else to say, actually, I do have two more things right here. So you are a very vocal individual, man, and I really like that. I always like that. That's one of the things that drove me into checking out Pixels. And one of the things that you say here, it really resonates with me. I'm very convinced a strong sense of urgency and paranoia is the most important trait for early stage startups. That says a lot because this is not doing things quick. This is doing things with diligence and with care, but with urgency, right? So, is this how you run your company?
Yeah, it's definitely a reflection of my personality. It's funny because companies like they're going to reflect your best traits and also your worst traits.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, for me, this is like probably the number one like thing I'm trying to impact on the team, where it's like we have to keep moving. Like we can't really we can't get in this relaxed state, or like it's all going to be okay state. You never know how the space is going to turn out, and the space is really hard to be building in. Like we have to stay like pretty focused on our goals. We have to really try to be achieving them like in relatively aggressive time frames if we want to actually compete and actually take what we want in the space.
Mm-hmm.
How do you
Absolutely.
think about like? How do you think about like? Sometimes like right, like how do you think about like okay, you're optimizing like building in public and right executing a vision, but also right like this is very community oriented, right? And what the community's voice is important, right? How do you right like Matt? How do you kind of figure out like how much weight to give their voice, and how do you and how to make them feel heard in the development while also like leaving room for the team to cook, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, what's hard about building in public is like sometimes things that you try don't work out, and dealing with that side of things, the community sentiment is tough, and like the community also feels it. Like one important thing is we're very present. Like we do an AMA every single week, if it's good or if it's bad, if it's slow or if it's really fast. Like I think that consistency and being there and on the ground is one of the most important things that we've done in terms of building trust. So early on, we did a lot of things that our community did not like and did not align with. And that was part of the community curation that we had to do as well too. Like we really early on, like basically did not like cave into speculators at all. We were very, very anti-speculator, especially in the bull run. And like a part of it was being consistent with how we talked about it too. Like we had a very strong intention to never talk about floor price of our NFT from day one, and that included when the floor price is rising, and like doing really, really well when we had a lot of volume in OpenSea. So like when floor price came down, or when like that volume started to go away, just in the space in general, we had already set an expectation that that wasn't the focus. Our focus is on metrics, gaming, all of that too. So that made some of that stuff a lot easier. So there was like a strong element of like, we're not going to listen to you on certain things. We're going to listen to you on these things. And this is the stuff that we want your feedback on. This is the stuff that we will not cave on. So it's like kind of being hard on your values, but open to feedback.
I like that. All right. Next thing right here, last thing is that you take shots, bro. You take shots at VCs, and I like that, man. I like that. This is human behavior. Human behavior. You have thoughts, you have things, you put it out there, right? I don't like this suited up kind of vibe. Founders that it's just everything in the line. No thoughts, no anything. It's just so weird to me. It's just so weird. I like this. Must be the same VCs that spend more time asking us about our Twitter growth strategy rather than retention, DAU, and engagement. So this VC's got wrecked, apparently. And then you retweet this. So do you think this is going to affect you long term? Is this something that you think you're always going to be like that? Because that's almost a decision that you have to make, right? If you grow too big and you're kind of taking shots here and there, how do you see this? How do you see yourself in, I don't know, maybe you grow too big.
Yeah. So, I mean, part of the reason that we're moving the Ronin is value alignment. So I think value alignment is actually the biggest lesson I've learned over the last couple of years being an entrepreneur, where the people who I align the most with values typically tend to be the most helpful too. Where it's just like, you can find capital, you can find all that kind of stuff from like a lot of different places, even like certain help and support or like skills. But, it's not necessarily the driving factor behind somebody wanting to help you, or like even like me wanting to ask for help from them as well too. It's the people who I feel like are good people, the people who I feel like we just have the same set of values, who have been the most helpful in my journey. So that's been the key focus. Where I've been talking to VCs as we've been raising funds, where it's like clear the value alignment's not there, and I will not raise money from them. I think it's really important, and I think that's also kind of what's led to some of the parts, like the bad stuff in Web3 too. Like the people funding who are like already here, I don't always align with how they view the space or like how they view some of the stuff. And especially as we have a token coming out, that's something very, very important to consider: who you have in your cap table, who you're taking money from, and like what their intention is. So yeah,
that's good. We're bullish. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the stream, but wait, we got Jihoz, last words, bro. Come on, bro. Okay, bring us the juice, bro. Give us a leak, give us something, bro. SLP maybe inside Pixels.
Nah, I've been hearing that.
Hey, but there is Pepe though inside Pixels, so I don't think it's like a faraway thought,
I'm just it's been really fun. I've done 2 of these with Luke today, and I'm learning. And that's one of the things that I find to be rare, is learning from another founder that I really respect. And I think it's going to have like a lot of really emergent benefits on the ecosystem that we can't even understand yet, right? There's going to be unexpected synergies. So yeah, that's what I would be looking out for. Is like, what are we know like some of the reasons why Pixels is going to be good for Ronin, but there are going to be reasons that Pixels is good for Ronin that none of us know about, and we're going to find out about that. And I think that those are the things that I'm excited about. So.
Absolutely, bro. I'm excited too. I'm very excited. We're like, this is an experiment, bro. I love this. There's people that just want the same thing as Web 2. No, man. Let's experiment. Let's see what happens. Let's cook, bro. Let's see. Let's try new things, bro. Come on. I like this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Later in 2 hours, I'm gonna be not 2 hours, a little bit less than 2 hours. I'm gonna be live playing again. It's gonna be in 40 minutes. I'll be playing Pixels again. So come hang out. I'll be live again in 40 minutes. Much love. Thank you guys for hanging out, everybody in chat. And I'll see you guys next video, next stream. and peace. Bye bye.